so glad to have you here today listening to the Spiritual Cocaine Podcast. I am Jesika Miller, the mind trainer and phobia eliminator and founder of spiritualcocaine.com. Spiritual Cocaine was started as a resource to connect you with gifted practitioners that could guide you to reaching your highest self, heal the deepest parts of you that need healing, and remove any obstacles standing in your way of your best possible life. Join us weekly for high-quality guests and invaluable information that will change your life. SpiritualCocaine.com serves as a directory of practitioners, healers, coaches, and light workers sharing their gifts with you to take you to the highest levels of your being by healing your mind, body, and spirit, and in turn accessing your inner high. Our practitioners, healers, coaches, and light workers offer one-on-one sessions, group classes, courses, and events throughout the world. You can log on and look through a variety of practitioners, or if you are a practitioner yourself, you can create a profile for others to get to know you and use your services. Join the movement, find your guide, and get high on spiritual cocaine. Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Cocaine Podcast, where we teach you to heal those parts of you, of yourself, that hold you back from living your best life. I am your host, Jesika, the mind trainer, and this is my very first guest, the most important guest. And they do say to save the best for last, but I chose to save the best for first. So here we are. We have Missy Fowler with us today, one of my favorite people in the universe. I could go on and on and on. I don't know that you're here to hear my praises of her. I think you're here to hear about how amazing she is and how she can help you. The purpose of this podcast is to share with you. It started on with my health journey, and this idea came about to share with people the different people that I met along my health journey, and my belief that healing should be available for everybody, and to introduce you to all of the people that are available that can help heal you. So we have here our first guest today, Missy Fowler. Missy is a myriad of things. She is first and foremost an intuitive healer. She's taken some special courses that she was always gifted, but these courses helped her fine-tune her skills. And I met Missy pretty far into my journey. And she is my final person and my most important person. I guess everybody's important, but for me, the most significant, because not only did she help me heal, she taught me how to heal myself, and is also, we still currently work together, helping me take me to the next level of my life. And I would have to say, you know, when you, in your healing journey, when you come across people, you will know when they are the right people. And when Missy and I got on the phone, the first thing out of her mouth is, I don't heal you. I show you how to heal yourself, which was exciting because it put the power back into my hands, and which is something I wanted. But at the same time, to be honest with you, it hasn't been easy, because Missy's not always just going to give you the answers. Now, there were times that I was weak, where she, of course, she's not like a, you know, no. She's very kind and compassionate. With that being said, you know, there were times that I was really struggling, that she did do the work for me, but she knew she has this ability to know when you're not able to do it yourself and when you are, and to push you to do the work yourself so that you learn to do it yourself. And I think that that's really like a testament to a true healer, is to not have somebody dependent on you, right? Is to give people the freedom for them to learn to do it themselves. Absolutely. So, Missy, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and your journey, what you've been through to get to where you are, because I think we attract clients that have had similar circumstances in our life, and as we evolved, our clientele evolves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, my journey has been, I've called it the school of life, and all my experiences that I've endured in and healed from my whole entire life of existence. I am now able to look at it as a blessing because now I can connect to so many more people because I've been through it or I've been around it. From anything from child abuse, being a sick child, almost dying, taking on parents' emotions as they're going to go through a divorce, not knowing that I was taking that all on, not knowing that I was an empath and what that meant. But I did that my whole entire life until I realized, hold on a second, why am I taking this on? And everybody else is still going about life like nothing's changed, but I'm feeling the burden. So I always take those burdens on, not knowing. And then intuitively, as we all have these innate gifts and abilities, everyone has all the abilities. It's what you choose to tap into. And what happens in your healing journey when you awaken, and there's many awakening moments that we get to grow through in the process and the transitions. So going through having the body image problems, being bulimic, anorexia, my mom going through divorces, going through different stepdads, having alcoholism around me, mental illness, many things I have experienced in so many ways, and there's much more. But because of that, each person played a part in my life and existence for me to learn and grow and to be more, to find out what I am through the transitions of life. Like as a mother who wasn't able to be a mother because she was never able to grow up herself because she didn't realize that she had things that she didn't understand about herself and couldn't see me. But now I understand from her moving on. As you know, my mom has moved on, for the listeners here. And what I found out is she's one of my spirit guides. And to think that she's a spirit guide for me, knowing what she was in this physical form, if I wasn't as open as I was, I would deny it and reject it. But I embraced it because towards the end, she showed me a sign that showed me she's here and believes me, finally, after almost 50 years. So on my own journey of healing, so much just opened up. Yes. What were you going to say, Jessica?
I was just thinking about, it just brought a thought into my head, like about the non-believers around you and how we
my whole entire life.
And laugh.
Yes. Yes.
You know, how intuitive you are and how much you know and how people question the why in things. And you always seem to, not always, you always do have the answer for the why if something happens. And you always, you have this wit about you that's very like, well, you'll just have to wait and see. You don't, you're not like pushy about proving it to people. Just say, just wait and see. And it's just so funny in time how everyone becomes fascinated by you because they're such non-believers, but the way you carry yourself really shows people that there's so much more on the other side, and it's really beautiful.
Right. Thank you. That's so beautiful. And I'm tearing up. So with that being said, thank you so much. And with that, also my whole entire life, I was denied. My mom didn't believe me. I would have, my Raggedy Ann doll I've told you about. It would give me, like, I would have this information and I would be talking to my stuffed animals or my dolls. Kids have an imaginary friend. I didn't have an imaginary friend. Everybody around me was something to me, right? So I would get these answers and my mom would deny me and reject me. And I would tell everybody all this information. So that denial piece is a big piece for people to understand. When you know something and trust in it, but growing up, it's really important to reflect back to that time of your life to clear that, because it's not their fault. They're just not open and available. They're that part of your life to give you that, to go, you know what, though, I'm going to start believing in what I feel, because in my life, I always went and was told what to do. So I took that on and it was never mine. So all those beliefs that we take on along the way, all the different programmings, everything that we have brought upon ourselves, one day you go, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. And why am I choosing and continuing to do the same thing? Right. Coming into your truth as a spiritual healing guide. Right.
To yourself. Yeah, when you start to listen to yourself, you start to realize how much programming you received from your parents and how it's not true and it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
It was just
And it
stuff that
doesn't
they
mean that
learned.
they were wrong. Right. And they took on, and it goes generational. But I was always the one child, and there's always one in every family, as you are one as well, Jesika. And we're like, this doesn't feel right. And we might have had a little, I wasn't a rebel, but I would just always test. But I was very quiet though, because I was shut down a lot. So obviously I carried a lot of things in my throat, which caused many illnesses throughout my life until I realized that the connection of all that, because everything we hold in, especially in our throat, and we don't speak up, causes us to have, like, I have a thyroid condition. I have something that was brought
Well, why don't
upon.
you talk more about that?
Yeah, so
Let's
I
talk
didn't
more about
realize
that,
this.
because that's
Okay,
really a big part of you.
it is like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
let's
about
talk more
six,
about that,
7 years
about
ago.
body syndromes, about body syndromes. Yeah,
Yes. So our body takes
about
on,
body syndromes and how when you hold on to.
yes, the energy we hold on.
Sorry, there's a little delay in the recordings.
Is there? Okay. So what I have learned along the way, like
It's
going
okay.
back, I want to go really, if it's okay if I do this really quickly. When I was a child and my parents were going through the divorce, I ended up getting
Yeah,
an
of
infection in
course.
my hip. Okay. Well, I didn't know until 6 years ago when I started having pains throughout my life what this is more connected to, which I'll share that in a moment. But what I was doing was taking on all that was going on in my house. Even if it wasn't happening in front of me, it's an energy that kids feel. And I knew there was unhappiness and knew something wasn't right. And then I got sick, ended up in the hospital, and almost died with an infection in my hip that spread through my whole body. And they didn't think I was going to live. I was in there in a body cast for months to rehabilitate. Luckily, they took me in when they did. And from there, caused more things to happen because that wasn't a fix. Then my parents get divorced. And then from there, many things had happened in the interim, right? So through that, not speaking my truth and speaking up because I was always shut down. And I'm not saying anything bad to anybody in my family. They don't know what they don't know. And our parents are doing the best that they can.
Right.
I didn't always believe that to be true in my different phases of my existence in growing. But today I can tell everyone on this podcast that when you take a moment to look at what your parents might have been through and gone through to have an understanding that they're choosing that's not true to them. But when you start to look in that and tap in that, you're going to start seeing a higher perspective of all the things that have led up to what your beliefs became because you took it on with your surroundings. And then you realize, you know what, though, that's just not a fit for me. And then go from there. So I never spoke up for myself. And when I did, I got shut down. So there would be moments I would try it out, but then I kept attracting those same type of relationships in my life where I didn't have a
Oh,
voice,
yeah.
right? And that's okay too, because I'm grateful for those people. I'm grateful for everybody, as you know. I know when we first met, when I would tell you one day you're going to look back and you're going to be grateful for every person that played that part in your life for you to grow and evolve. And now you completely understand what that means because of the healing work that is done that we get to do for ourselves, each and
Correct.
every one of us. So with my thyroid, having no voice, it causes illnesses. It causes diseases, a lot of cancers and a lot of things. And no, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not making any medical claims. I just want to make that very clear. But a lot of the things that we go through is from not being able to speak or not living in our truth or taking on people's emotions or their surroundings and their beliefs, because whatever we believe to be true, we're creating it into our reality. So growing up, I had strep throat
And how do you help
and
people eliminate?
bronchitis. How do I do that? Well, there's many ways and
How
modalities,
do you
right? In
help people?
connecting with what I do today. Yes, like with this specific thing,
Yeah,
stepping in your
just
truth, is
explain a little
starting the
bit about your
process.
process so that.
Okay. Yes. There's many processes, as you know, Jesika. When I meet somebody, I am guided to what is for them. So there's not just a printout. Okay, this is what I'm going to do for each person. Anybody that I work with, they find me. I
Right.
don't promote myself. It just shows up. So each thing will be different. But where I start with is the emotion code, where we get to the emotions, we find out timelines so people can start reflecting back into their life to see where something began or where it's rooted. Because where it rooted is when we get to that root and we extract it, we start healing those layers. And each layer we heal, we start to level up into higher consciousness and connection. And we become more aware of what our surroundings are and how it's impacting our life and what we're choosing in life. So we start there with the emotion code, where I go through that process as you've been through many times. And then from there, we start turning into, how can I do this on a daily basis, through the automatic writing and writing questions and connecting to your higher self to get the information and insight that is available for you. That is a crucial piece once you start tapping into that and believing it. Like, for our listeners that are listening to this call today, you ever have a moment where you have this idea and you think it's a great idea, and then you do the opposite and you go, oh, I should have listened to that, what that was. That's our higher self connecting with us with the information that is aligned to our truth. So I assist people, once they start the healing process, how they can do it on their own, giving them the tools and the ability through just connecting, acknowledging the feeling, allowing themselves to feel it, express it, and set it free. There's many ways to do it, but we've been pushing that aside for so long, and eventually it's going to erupt. I know that I carried a lot of anger, resentment, and all that. And then I ended up going into a relationship that was that for 20 something years. Then when I finally decided to take myself out of that relationship, that's really when the true healing began.
So you were saying something which brought me to my next thought, which is, I think that as a society, especially with all the technology that we have, we're so used to instant gratification.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that doesn't happen in healing. One thing that healing teaches you is to have patience.
Yes.
And I want to point out that working with you requires a commitment.
Absolutely.
Right.
To yourself. Yes.
Yeah, it requires a commitment to myself, to the process, to the time, to doing the work. And looking back, I will say that, with each appointment we had, because I was in I just want to encourage people to be patient with the process, right? Because for me, I was very sick. So there's two dynamics. First of all, I was looking for instant satisfaction, and I didn't get that with you.
Right.
The other thing was that when I did get relief, because I was so ill, it was very apparent that what we were doing was working. But what I am going to say about not getting instant relief with you is that although I didn't get instant relief within the session, I healed so much in such a short period of time, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. That's the beauty of this.
Yeah. So when I did some work with other people, I would get like instant relief, but the instant relief was kind of like taking aspirin.
It's a Band-Aid.
Right? So like
Yes.
So like the headache would go away, but that's also part of the process of having people do the work for you. And
that's what it was.
Yourself.
That's what it's there to provide you, to show you, because of course they're going to guide you, and they're not doing anything wrong at all. I mean, they're giving you and showing you what's possible, right? But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, it's time for me to actually take these steps. And what is it for me to do? What is my responsibility within myself? And what are those steps that I am to take? Because I'm choosing me.
Well, you go to a healer and they do some energetic work or Reiki or whatever, and it's not knocking anything. It's like,
oh no, it's
and
beautiful.
after you come out, you feel so great, and you have all this energy, and you have all this stuff. It's great. They're all amazing tools. Yes. I just found that the work with you was very permanent.
Yes,
was very that I did not get that instant like when it came out.
Yes,
but the amount that I was able to do in such a short period of time. But again, that was also on me to commit to that process of working with you several times a week.
Right. And you were committed to yourself, Jesika, and you implemented the tools, right? Because you knew what the benefits were for you, and you knew you have a higher calling in this existence. And as we work together, a lot of your gifts and abilities magnified on top of the healing, and that's for everybody. It suppresses, because everybody has innate abilities and gifts. Just because I can I'm an intuitive, right? I can do mediumship. I can do all the things, but I've tapped into those things. But I've also created the space within myself to be able to get access to that and then call upon those gifts to retrieve them, to start acclimating and making them a part of my own. I went to
I
many
think,
different people and modalities as well, but it taught me, wait
yeah,
a second, I do this all the time. They brought confirmations. How many times have I brought you confirmations along the way, or
yeah,
clarity? That's the thing, is when you have somebody by your side that you trust, you don't have to depend on me, but you have that option. You know what? I just want to know a better way for today, because what we did yesterday
mhm,
may not work today because you're not that version of you anymore.
correct.
And being the way I am, which I can't really explain it, I just am, I get guided and led to what's best for the person I get to work with. That's why I don't limit myself and put myself in a box. People are like, oh, you got to explain this is what you do. I do all the things, because whoever has ever
I
come
think
to me, I've been able to assist them in some way. I can't
I
explain
think
it.
it's really
Mm-hmm.
important for people to, when they start the healing process, and I had this with one, with phobia people, where
Mm-hmm.
I videotaped them, and there's the results at the end is so far from where they were, they don't even remember where they were. And I think it's really
Yes.
important when people start the healing process to really document so that you can remember who you were, so you can see how far you came. Now, lucky for me, in our instance, I had lab results, and I was so excited to share those
Right.
with you, that a lot of people don't have something so significant as lab results. They
Right.
have to go by, well, this seems better, and then they start to question, well, was it this or was it that, or I'm not really
Mm-hmm.
sure. No, it's the work. It's the work. Let's be real, it was
Right.
the work.
And
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 I was
the ego does that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, they tried to say, oh, well, maybe this changed, or this got better, or it wasn't so hard. No, when you do the work, the shifts happen. But lucky for me, I was able to show you that when you and I
Yes.
started,
Instantly.
you shared with me, I had a whole regimen of things that I was supposed to do, and I didn't really want to do it, because it didn't feel right for me. And you said, I don't think you're going to need to do any of
Right.
those things or take any of those things, but it's up to you if you want to. And of course, since I didn't want
Right.
to, I I didn't. And I can tell you that in taking nothing, that in black and white, I have my lab results. Not only did I get totally better, but
Mm-hmm.
many of my ranges went into the optimal
Yeah.
category. So it was a complete
Yes.
reversal, and then a push into the other side. And I'm always so excited to share for the doubters, um,
Right.
for the people who
Yes.
want to quit in the middle of the process, because I
Right.
think that people don't realize, for us too, like, we put our heart and our soul into this, and it's very disappointing for us as well, even though we meet people on the journey where they're at, and we're just
Right.
here to guide and help them. It's still
Right.
disappointing when someone
Yeah,
gives
those
up
do
when
come
you
up sometimes. But you know what? When we
yeah
realize that it's not about us, it's about them, and
yeah
that when they're ready, they can go so far. And sometimes they just need to retreat for a little bit. I've had people go, 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 and then all of a sudden, whoop, the brakes go on, right? But now they're appearing again because now they're realizing, hold on, this was working, but I needed to find that out for myself. And that's the beauty,
yeah
is I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We're living in our purpose. We came here to be what we are here and meant to do on our path. But that's healing ourselves first and continuing to healing ourselves, because then we can hold the space and be able to be of assistance to those. To wherever we are at is the only part we can tap into. People can have all these gifts and abilities, but if they're not doing their own work, they can only go so far. For you and I,
correct. You
which,
have to do the
yes,
work.
and it's continuous. Like right now, I'm in a really funky phase that goes back to childhood and the whole inner child work, which we tap into when it gets brought upon,
Yes.
and also just going back in timelines and reflecting in times and understanding and having this knowing, because the understanding isn't that important. That's the ego trying to figure things out or thinking it needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be fixed. It's just
Just accept it.
redirecting yourself. Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to, as you said, as evolved as you are, it's still a never-ending process. It's
Never ending. Yes.
it's a constant evolvement into becoming your best self.
Absolutely. And I love it. Like, I get excited when I'm having my moments where, oh, here we go, it's another layer. I go, okay, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Instead of going, oh, here we go
I
again.
get excited now.
Yeah, yes, I know. I love when you do it.
I get excited, like,
Yes.
oh, more shit to
Yes.
overcome, so I can have more tools to help people. It's frustrating.
Yes.
It's when something happens now, I
Yes.
actually have this ability. I used to sink into it and get sad and feel like a victim and get down and depressed, like, oh, again,
Attach.
another thing happening, blah, blah. And now I'm kind of, through the work with you, I'm really like an observer. Like I'm even an observer over my emotions. Like sometimes I know when I text you, like, I'm really sad today. It's kind of weird because I have a sadness, but I'm not sad. It's like it's like I'm watching myself be sad. And
Right.
like I just let the emotion pass through me, but
Right.
I don't sit in the emotion.
Exactly. You don't let it overcome you. You don't attach to it, because now you have an understanding. This is an old version of you, and you're going to acknowledge her. You're going to let her know it's okay. Let me feel you right now. Let's go through this together so we can set it
Yeah,
free.
I think that the disconnect it's the old you and the new you.
Yes.
And like the new you is kind of looking at this like, we don't do that anymore.
Yes.
Like, but this feels familiar. I used to do this, and to say like, oh, okay, you're just passing through. Like, it's like a train passing through the
That's
stop,
all it
and you're
is.
just going to keep.
Yes, and it becomes more simpler. The only reason why this work is hard is because we tell it it's hard. Whatever we tell ourselves, we are creating.
Yeah.
So I used to have this thing I want to share really quick on this is I don't feel pain. How many people?
What kind of pain?
Any kind of pain. Like, I have a high pain tolerance. If I get injured, I had a story. Then, as you know, recently I had a knee injury from, a funny one, but, that's another time for another story. But I realized that was bringing me back to be still.
In your body.
Yes,
Yeah.
and to feel more that's coming up that's connected to this, because it goes so deep. And when we just keep going, we don't give ourselves the time to just allow ourselves to feel, because we've been told our whole lives too, oh, just suck it up, or you're being a baby, or all those
What
things.
an interesting association.
Exactly. And that's where it goes back to my voice, not having a voice.
But people don't realize too, when you're made to feel like you can't feel a certain way,
Right.
Then they think, oh, it's good to have a high pain tolerance.
Right. I thought that up until 6 months ago.
But when you start to go through the process and you become aware, you start to understand all these parts of you.
Yes.
And why you are the way that you are.
And the purpose of that injury. It didn't happen to me. It happened for me, because there was deeper layers for me to.
These are the kind of things that I'm talking about when you're dealing with Missy, when you like, it's when you want to call and cry and complain. She's like, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
So and let's explore it, right? I'm not this bubbly every time. I'm like, okay, Jesika, so what is coming up? And we go through a really beautiful process. It's just nice having somebody that you trust, and you know that they're going to assist you and give you the tools that you can do and progress in your life, in your existence, and be the best version that you are, because then everyone else around you is better because of that. If we're trying to change other people, it's not going to work.
No, never going to work.
We change, everything else around us changes.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about what your offerings are. What do you, well, first of all, you do both in person and virtual.
Yes, I do.
And does that really matter? I think sometimes people with healing modalities tend to say like, well, how can you heal people and be virtual? But
it's energy. Yes.
All the work we did together was virtual, and it was fine.
Right.
We had our days together, but
absolutely,
but most of it was virtual, and it was extremely successful.
Yeah, and we see each other like we're doing this right now.
So what are your sessions? What do they look like?
It depends on what somebody's looking to receive and where they are in their journey. So if they are just starting out, I always start with being an emotion code practitioner, is going in and finding out what the emotions are, getting a timeline finding out where it began, showing them a process of how to feel and express it and set it free, and then transition to what is aligned to where they are today, trusting in the process. So all these things just come together, as you know, as you're smiling. It's just something that happens.
I'm smiling because I'm fidgety and I keep itching myself, and I'm like, I wonder I have these like phantom itches everywhere, and I'm just laughing because I know it's something going on.
Well, as we're talking, just having conversations. So when we do that, though, we start a conversation. You don't have to talk, but it would be beneficial for you. And then I give you homework to do to write about your feelings. And if it's something that
the homework, and you got to do the homework.
The homework is key, and it's writing letters to the people. They can send them energetically. They receive them, don't they, Jesika? Things change. Oh, yes. You've done those letters, and all of a sudden somebody calls you, and it's been done for you. What people don't understand, it doesn't always have to be, people aren't always going to be open to what you have to share, and that's okay, but you expressing it for yourself in the human form.
You just have to do it on your side, yeah.
Exactly.
And you have to understand you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you too. So
absolutely. Yes.
They're hearing you. It's just not maybe in the way you think they should hear you. And you have to get over that. There's a lot of getting over things.
Yes, and it's just overcoming something that no longer exists. We're trying to be in a place today, but we aren't even that version of us. But the things keep showing up similar because it's getting our attention to say, hey, there's something here. Let's explore it. Or not, but it'll keep showing up. So from that, it turns into mentorship because then you start growing and awakening and opening up to more. And then what I do is I assist people to the tools to navigate their life, open them up and connect to their truth. Just many, many aspects to anything. Whatever they're looking to receive, we tune in, showing them how to do that, trusting within, being patient, being gentle and kind, self-love. I know everything's coming up for you right now. I love it. It's so amazing. But this is the beautiful piece. And it's light.
It's like a twitch.
Yes, but it's light. I love everybody. And you know that, Jesika, that I have a love for everybody. I see beyond what they are in this human form. I see what their soul is, and I can tap into that. When I get the messages, I'm talking to their higher self. They're usually looking at me like, how did you know that? It's because your higher self is trying to get your attention to listen, but we don't always listen because we don't trust or we don't know what that is. And then so I just share it. It just happens naturally. I'm not looking to find an answer for you. It just comes to me. And that's another way where people are like, oh, well, that makes sense. So then they get the confirmations and the clarity of the doubt, and you're removing doubt. So it removes old beliefs, old programmings, old patterns, doubts, integrating, opening you up. Activations happen within your energy field and your human form. It's not just the energy, it's the human piece too. So they all come together, bridging them together, evolving into your highest, best version and continuing to live life. And then you start realizing there's more to this life and existence than you ever imagined. And then you start tapping into that. And then life just gets better and better.
Now, what about for people who are further along in their journeys? I know you offer some courses.
Yes.
So can we talk about that?
So we have different courses depending on where they are. It's just channeled in, it's coming in, and it's tapping into certain things that they are looking to receive. So I don't have one designed format. What I do is every once in a while I get this download, which is information that comes through. I have books and books and books. I haven't even put out all those courses yet, as you know. Books. I have books. So whatever anybody is looking to receive, they're coming out. So it's tapping into your highest version of you, removing any blocks, anything that no longer serves you, taking you to the next level. What does that look like? Any kind of gifts and abilities. What can you do to activate those? Many different modalities just come in. So I don't have one specific one to share in this moment because there's so many that are opening up at once in the next few weeks. So I will have those offerings coming up shortly. They've been in preparation and stepping into that next phase because I've been doing this one-on-one and starting to slowly get into group stuff. And then there's going to be a community being brought upon and spiritual cocaine, which I can't wait. And having all those beautiful beings that are here serving and doing their purpose and just having that platform. So many different things are coming. I don't feel to share just yet, but it's exciting. And it's just living your best life and what that looks like and how simply it can be. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful process. and just being able to be available for more people. I've been working that way to my energy to be able to perform that, not perform it. That's not the right word, but be able to hold that space for more. That's my next step. So that's where I'm transitioning to, and for people to know who I am, because I've been doing this by referral only. Now I'm about to step out to be able to be
out into the spotlight. Yeah,
exactly.
we
So
just don't
that's
want to
where.
share you. We want to show you.
Thank
But
you.
can you tell
Thank you.
people a little bit about how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, Missy, my email is Missy Fowler, Fowler 111 at gmail.com. And then on Instagram, my handle is Missy.Fowler, Fowler 111. And then on Facebook, it's Missy Fowler. So they can message me, or my website is MissyFowler111.com. Forgot about that one. That's a new one, because that's, the whole thing. I'm like, people find me. That's how you can find me.
They do. They do. And sometimes, Missy's a good person to like stick in your back pocket so that when the day you're ready, you have her. I knew about Missy for a year before I used her. And it's kind of like with many things in this arena. When you are called, you will know.
Yeah.
So Missy is definitely a person to save and keep in your favorites and follow her social media posts so that when the time comes and you are ready,
and you'll know,
you'll
know everything's in a divine time and order, right?
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being on the Spiritual Cocaine podcast, where we teach you to heal those parts of yourself that hold you back from living your best life. Thank you, Missy Fowler, for coming on today. We appreciate you. We love you, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
We will definitely have you back on for different topics.
Beautiful. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, Jesika, the Mind Trainer, and Phobia Eliminator here on the Spiritual Cocaine podcast. If you loved what you heard today, please be sure to leave us a positive review on this podcast so that it can continue to provide you with the best resources available in your ascension journey. Most of the episodes can be watched on our YouTube channel, which you can find by searching Spiritual Cocaine on YouTube. Find out more about our guests in depth on our website, spiritualcocaine.com, along with many other gifted practitioners. And as always, give us a follow on Instagram, where you will definitely find our juiciest content. Our Instagram address is @spiritualcocaine_. Bye for now.